Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a Walking Dead video for today, leading up to the 7th episode for The Walking Dead Season 8, which is, of course, this weekend. In this one, we're going to give our thoughts on whether or not we think Henry is a sort of Carl comic book series version 2.0. And spoiler warning, of course, if you are not caught up for The Walking Dead television series, which is up to The Walking Dead Season 8, Episode 6. So I definitely wanted to do this one after we got to see quite a few new scenes with this Henry character from the Kingdom, and kind of his relationship getting started with Carol, kind of his attitude. We find out that he is Benjamin's younger brother. We do know, of course, that Benjamin was killed in Season 7. And so, it brings into question kind of like, part of The Walking Dead that's, going to be coming up is some really badass stuff for Carl. But of course, it's been something that's been debated as of lately, whether or not Chandler Riggs' television series version of Carl can really pull off these parts, or is going to. And that is that pretty much as the story progresses, the story goes on further, you have Carl kind of gets more and more crazy. But the TV series, in the comics version, that is. In the TV series version, that does not seem to at all be the case. In the TV series version, it really looks like Chandler Riggs' Carl is kind of maybe comparable to Tyrese versus his comic book counterpart, which is where you have Chad Coleman's Tyrese, who he refuses to kill Martin. He's kind of, he's moral compass of the group, so to speak, this kind of thing that's been kind of done maybe too many times in The Walking Dead already. But just, kind of a different take on that character, looking the same, having the same name, starting off the same in the series, but the character being quite a bit different than the comic book series version of the character. Chandler Riggs' Carl really feels that way. And I think it mainly started off, maybe if you look at the points in the comic book series version. The TV series, you have Lizzie and Mika. And you have Carol, who puts down Lizzie because she's found to be too far gone, or Lizzie is in a state where she's, the damages are done and there's no way they're going to be able to, reverse those. So Carol does kind of the, I don't want to say humane thing, but, it's never humane to kill a little girl, but she puts her out of her sort of confused misery, I suppose, in the TV series version. In the comic book series version, that's Carl. You have two brothers that are, very similar. And basically, Carl puts the one down, Ben. He puts Ben down, who is pretty much, I want to say, the Lizzie equivalent in the comic book series version. So in the TV series, they start giving off some of these kind of badass moments for Carl from the comics to other characters. You get Carol, who gets that one, which is an important part in Carl's development in the comic book series, and there's many, many others as you go through. You get to see them being quite a bit different. There's some parts, and I want to say around like season 5, 6, and then into 7, where you kind of can see that they're trying to do something similar with Carl, like when he tries to attack Negan and he tries to attack the Saviors, and it kind of doesn't work for him, or he ends up getting captured and almost killed. He just has a different kind of presentation than the comic book series version. The comic book series version of Carl seems more, I want to say, like Henry, a lot more like Henry, where no matter what the case is, nothing is going to hold him back from going after Negan and the Saviors. Even if he tried it before and it didn't work with an assault rifle, he's pretty much going to do it again because he's nuts. The TV series version of Carl seems a lot more grounded than the comic book series version did. He doesn't seem to be as kind of crazy as the comic book series version. He doesn't seem to be as badass as the comic book version, or as he hasn't had those moments they've been given to other people. In the comics, there's one that's coming up probably in a couple years. Maybe even season 9, so I guess this is spoilers if they adapt it the same way. Volume 23, Whispers into Screams, where you have Carl and Sophia, and yes, Sophia is alive in the comic book series version, which, it's cool because the comic book series version has its own, it has its own characters that survive at different times, things like that. You get to see Sophia all the way through, so yeah, definitely check out the comic book series if you haven't read it. I think you'll enjoy it because it's got its own kind of thing to it. But basically, you have Sophia and Carl at the hilltop. They are kind of long friends at this point because they, of course, were younger together when they were with the rest of the group, and this is after the start of the Whisperers stuff in the comic book series, and you have two of them that get attacked by these two boys in the hilltop. Pretty much they attack Sophia, and they're kind of beating her up, that kind of thing, and they kind of push Carl around. Carl loses it. He goes crazy. He grabs a shovel and he kills them both. So here's some of the the scenes here from it, or the pages here, brutally with the shovel. So he doesn't stop. He 100% kills them, and they go over and they tell Maggie and some of the others, two boys, they attacked her. I think I killed them. So this is just one of the many. There's some other really badass lines for Carl in the comic book series, like he stops wearing his eye patch. He allows his eye to kind of show, and he just kind of embraces it. He said he argues with Rick quite a bit. He calls Rick a wimp at one point after Rick gets kind of a concussion. He points to his eye and says, "This world is my father, and I have its face." There's just some really, for example, you effing F-wads can go F yourselves after he kills their kids. So it's he's cold, man. Comic series version of Carl is cold and brutal, and the TV series version of him is, I want to say, Chandler Riggs' version is not many of those things. He's not many of those things. So obviously, you're going to have to use somebody for these parts in the comics or in the TV series version, and I don't know. I mean, I guess they could, obviously, you could give them to Carl if you wanted to, but this Henry character, I'm really intrigued because also his age is closer to Carl in the comic book series at this time. If you look at Chandler Riggs, and as obviously no fault of his own, we all grow up, we all grow. From the first season to this season, it's been 8 years, eight into season 9, where we get to these kind of parts, 8 or longer years, depending on when they adapt these things. It doesn't quite feel the same way because you have him and he looks to be in his teenage years. He looks quite a bit older than this version. But if you were to kind of have Henry kind of take on these parts, you could have kind of that same kind of stature, in terms of age, and it could be kind of closer. It would have been cool to see kind of the same version of Carl from the comics in the TV series, but it kind of feels like to me, reading the comics through, he just never really, the way it was interpreted, the things that were done with him in the TV series, there's a few instances, like at the end of season 3, where he kills the kid from the from Woodbury, for example, guns him down, and Herschel's all upset about it. So one of his soldiers. So it's it's kind of tricky for sure, but I do like this idea that we may see kind of Henry kind of replace some of these instances from Carl in the future for the comic book series. And there just aren't that many kind of kids around that age in the series right now that they could really use for some of those. Like, you can't really give some of these things to somebody who's in their 20s or 30s. It doesn't really have the same kind of impact. So yeah, so it's kind of cool stuff. And there's a picture of Carl on the back there, which I really like that one. That's an awesome cover, really cool. So Carl from the comic book series, one of my favorite characters in the entire comic book series. TV series, not so much. So let's see if Henry can kind of maybe get some of these moments that they are starting to kind of, it seems like they're kind of giving away. Like, for example, in season 8, we're seeing he wants to go into battle and go to fight. Carl kind of is disobeying his father because he wants to go help somebody. So that's it's different, right? It's a different interpretation. KCF said Henry is Sophia's Sophia character's real life brother. So the actress who played Sophia is Henry is her brother. So that's really cool. And I haven't verified that, but that's really cool. He certainly looks quite a bit like her. So we'll have to see what they have in store for this new character. And I am excited for the future for this character. He does seem to be really cool, really fun, so we'll see what they have for him. Luke Phillips says, Trev, when you listen to the way Lennie James has been speaking since the confirmation, he's speaking as if he's never coming back to The Walking Dead. So does this mean we can expect his death this season? So that was from Luke Phillips. I did a video yesterday where we went all into the Morgan's death confirmed idea. And again, it's not really spoilers for that one because this is an official announcement. They advertised it. They told everybody to come back watch Talking Dead. They posted on their their accounts, their social media accounts. People tune in. We all wait for it, and that's the announcement. So don't blame me if I'm doing videos on it covering what was an official announcement from the episode. It's like even with the thumbnail, it's like people are like, oh, spoilers, Trev, to say it was Morgan. It's like it was an official announcement, so it's not like there was something in an episode. It was an official thing for everybody. So I really don't feel like it's not the same as spoilers, really. So you can read into it as you want to. Obviously, what I do is I do reviews of what's officially released and speculation based on maybe foreshadowing what's officially released, this kind of stuff for Morgan. So yeah, you can watch that video if you want to hear my thoughts on that one. But it really does sound like he said his goodbyes, that kind of thing for Talking Dead. So to me, it sounds like Lennie James, Morgan, maybe either switching 100% to Fear either at that point in timeline, or it might be killed off and then doing a flashback sequence. Nero Borgata 26 says, Trev, I feel like he will survive after he films season 4 of Fear. He will go back and continue to do season 9, and the whispers come and Morgan recognizes that it's Madison. Him coming into season 4 is their way of bridging both shows. I bet Fear is done after season 4, possibly season 5. So for Nero Borgata, so you think it sounded to me from the interview like Lennie James was not going back to The Walking Dead. When you say your goodbyes, that kind of thing, it doesn't sound to me like he's going to be back in The Walking Dead again, maybe ever. So, that's the way I read it. Now, of course, you can interpret it how you want to. Some people are saying that they think maybe, he's kind of acting when he does that, and he's kind of trying to throw us off or something like that. I don't think so. I tend to think that he was being, honest and that kind of thing, and he wasn't pretending or playing a character or a role when he was doing that announcement. So I tend to think that, it's kind of confirmation that one way or the other, he's probably not coming back to The Walking Dead at all. And, this might be his last season, whether he leaves or whether he's killed off, like whether or not the character leaves in that world and they do a time skip to sync him up. Either way, I do think that, I think that this is it for Morgan. This is the last season in the original Walking Dead TV series we're going to see him. But I'm very happy because I thought he was going to be killed off anyway. I did that in the death predictions, back in April or May, right after season 7 ended, that I thought that Morgan would be killed off this year. So, it's to me, it's like, and then he says, I don't die. And it's like, okay, yeah, you're definitely dying now. So it's one of those kind of things. It's like, well, we'll see what they do, but to me, I tend to think that he probably will be killed off and it'll probably be a prequel. But the other way is possible too. And again, all speculation. None of this is confirmed. This is just speculation at this point, right? Gabe Genorio says, Lennie James is here in Austin filming for Fear. The other actors for Fear have been seen in the malls. He made a statement to local news saying he was switching from The Walking Dead to Fear. He said he was done filming for The Walking Dead, so if he is done with the original series, what does that tell us? Yeah, it sounds like he's done with The Walking Dead, and that's what I took from Talking Dead as well too. I took the same thing, like he's pretty much saying he's finished with The Walking Dead TV series, he's going to be on Fear, but it doesn't tell us for certain if it's going to be him, like a sequel for him or a prequel for him. You know what I mean? Like an events that took place years ago or an after The Walking Dead, and then we see the Fear group later. We'll have to see how it works out. But I think the prequel idea makes more sense personally. Jay Moore says, Trev, how do you think Rick is going to get out of this precarious situation he's in, and do you think he can ever trust the scavengers after this? So I would say no, and I also find the scavengers to be quite strange with what they do. Like, here he offers them, so first he offers them a deal, right? And they accept or they agree, and then they say yes, and then you have afterwards they turn on him, and so now they've got the upper hand, the survivors have the upper hand, and he comes to them to give them an opportunity to help them finish off Negan and the Saviors, or, at the very least to stay out of it, I suppose I would say, and let them wrap it up and finish off the Saviors. And they, instead of just saying, well, we'll stay out of it, we don't want anything to do with this, maybe later we can trade with you or something, instead of doing anything like that, they lock him up and capture him. So what I'm thinking might happen with this is that Daryl and the others, after a couple days, might be like, where's Rick? Rick's not here. He went to the junkyard and they never let him go, or they've taken him or something. So we've got to go rescue him. So then they may pool all their resources. The survivors may attack the junkyard. And then while that's happening, Negan and the Saviors may escape because, they've moved this way, and then Negan and the Saviors have an opportunity. They're not pinned down, and they've got a chance to actually get out of there. So it's yeah, the scavengers really screwed Rick and the group up. You'd almost wish that Rick didn't go to even present them with anything and just left them out of it until they had finished off the Saviors 100%, because they're pretty close right now. Really, the only group left that the Saviors have is the one at the Sanctuary, which is totally pinned down. Looks like they're maybe rationing food. They don't look like they're in good shape, and they might be running out of supplies. And yeah, it really looks bad for them. So for the scavengers to do this to Rick and the others, it really screws up the flow of things, and you know, who the natural winner of this contest is going to be. If they'd at least have just stayed out of it, then Rick and the others could, you know, see who wins against Negan, and then that's it in the end. But yeah, they're really screwing them over by taking their, you know, head honcho, so to speak, Rick, their overall leader, captive, and not letting him call the shots and, you know, go and do what he has to do. So it's for them, it's a super risky move, definitely. Jen Gem says, it's a conspiracy. Lenny knew, Melissa knew, and Gimple had them both act the way they did. Really, Morales is the crossover character going to Fear the Walking Dead, and Morgan will just continue with The Walking Dead. No, come on. I was like, listen to what you're saying until you drop the Morales name, and then I'm like, okay, no, that's not happening. So that's that. The conspiracy part, like it was, so you're saying, I've heard a few people say this. You're thinking that Lennie James and Melissa did it on purpose to kind of make it seem like that was going to happen to mislead us. I don't think so. To me, it seemed genuine, and it seemed like maybe Scott was so busy wrapping up the season, he didn't have a chance to like call Lenny and be like, oh, make sure you don't say anything about you being killed off this season. He probably figured, it's one of these things that happen, okay? He probably figured that Lenny knew better, and he probably didn't want to overmanage, you know, micromanage, right? So call every time, call people, you know, and there's only so much the guy's going to be able to do anyway. He should actually probably have an assistant that does, he probably does anyway, have assistants that do this kind of stuff. But, you know, somebody should have called him and been like, by the way, before you're on Talking Dead tonight, you make this huge announcement. Don't say anything about the fact that we killed you off in the second half of season 8. You know, don't make it seem like you were, you were killed off or you're leaving or whatever. Like, keep that under wraps. So I think that Lenny thought it was okay because he thought that he was, you know, he probably didn't factor in the timelines of the series, you know, because I don't know if he's big on Fear, he probably hasn't seen every episode. He might have seen some of it for sure, I would think. But I think he doesn't realize that the timelines don't sync up. So when you leave The Walking Dead at the end of season 8, let's say, you can't just easily cross in terms of time into the other one at the same time frame of the series. So he probably didn't factor that in. Maybe I'm not giving him enough credit here, but yeah, I'm thinking he probably didn't think about that when he thought, you know, okay, I'm going from this show to this show. Everybody knows I'm switching, so they know that I'm not going to be in this show anymore. Maybe he shouldn't have confirmed that he was not going to be in this show anymore. So it's a tricky thing when you want to release some information, but you don't want to release too much information. I think that maybe Lenny released more than probably what Scott or what the other people involved with the series would have wanted him to release. But hey, you know what? It's out now. The cat's out of the bag now. Whatever. You know, it's live TV. Who cares? You know, it's what it is. We all thought he was going to be killed off anyway. So he said he wasn't going to die. So we're all like, oh, he's going to die. So, you know, so it's like one of those. Like, who cares, man? Whatever. You know, it's not a big deal. And, you know, he's done so much for the show. He could have just refused to come back after the first season. Like, if he just refused to come back in season 3 and season 5, you know, so he's done a lot for the series. He's really helped out the series a lot and made it really entertaining and enjoyable. He elevated season 3. He elevated season 5. Even season 6, you know, it was awesome to see him back there. And, you know, protein bars, right? Did you eat one of my protein bars, right? So, you know, so it's funny, right? You know, it's whatever. So, you know, it's cool. You know, I'm not mad or anything that it was released or whatever. So, you know, stuff like that, it's going to happen. You know, people get emotional and sometimes they're tired and they just say things and they don't really think it through 100%, or they're starting a new, you know, that's nerve-wracking too. Like, you're used to working on this and then you're switching 100% just like a week later to that. You got a lot on your mind and you get tired, and then, you know, you just say whatever, and maybe you know, firing from the hip, you let out a little bit too much info. So that's the way I interpreted it. But some people think that it's, you know, if it's the other way, you guys can say, I told you so, Trev. And I've been wrong before, okay? I've been wrong before. This Morales thing, right? You know, as soon as he came back, you know, not dead, right? I told you so. So, you know, maybe you're right. Maybe he is totally just playing a part, and he's not going to leave the show. Maybe he will come back in The Walking Dead. He's just saying it just to kind of mess with us. I don't know. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Write your comments below. Let me know, especially in this video, what you think think about Henry, this new character, and whether or not you think he could be kind of our Carl 2.0 for the TV series, getting some of those more badass comic book moments that maybe don't fit so well with Chandler Riggs' TV series version of Carl. If you like this video, please thumb it up below, guys. You can share, you can favorite, and if you're new and you want to subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate it, and you can do it. You can subscribe at the bottom left. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys again soon for another video. As always, this is Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon. Well, I hope you're wearing your subscribing pants.
What?
Your subscribing pants. Because you're going to subscribe to this channel wearing those pants.